All Things Conceivable, a surrogacy podcast with Nazca Fontes.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to All Things Conceivable, a surrogacy podcast. Well, we are nearing the end of 2021, and wow, what a year it's been. Lots of lessons learned, and during an especially challenging period of time, what we've also learned is, in spite of what we faced in 2021, it has truly been a gift, and more intended parents and surrogates than ever before are turning to surrogacy partnerships to help build families. And with our guest today, I think that there's no better intended parent to help showcase just what it's like to persevere and partner with an incredible surrogate. Our guest today, she's a realtor. She's the host of Smart is the New Sexy, and she is a soon-to-be mom through surrogacy. Listeners, please welcome Arsiak Vartenian. So Arsiak, I hear that you just got back from an important appointment this morning. Is that right?
I did. So my surrogate, we've been going through a lot of appointments, but a couple of weeks ago, they discovered that she had a dilated umbilical cord. And with that being said, for me, with my last surrogacy journey, the umbilical cord is something that's vital to pregnancy, right? But when I hear that, I get very nervous. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to hear umbilical cord because that's how we lost our last pregnancy further, in the third trimester. So I pushed for more ultrasounds, and my surrogate has been so amazing. And they did discover that. And with that discovery, they had recommended that she comes in every week for an ultrasound until delivery. So just last Friday, we found out we're actually going to be parents much sooner than we thought we were going to be, 3 weeks sooner. But we are so excited, so happy.
Yeah. Well, that's a great update this morning.
Yeah. So today we had our ultrasound just to make sure everything's going good and that umbilical cord has not gotten any bigger and it's either gotten smaller or just stayed the same and stabilized. So we've got good news today. So she's got her OB appointment at the end of this week, another ultrasound, another OB, and then another ultrasound and OB, and then baby will be here the following week. So 3 weeks from today.
Isn't that fantastic? Well, for those who are listening in, this is being recorded around the holiday season, and what a gift to receive during this time of year. I'm just so thrilled for you. Well,
Thank you.
You have so much to share about, being a patient through this process, about going through surrogacy. There's a lot that we'll get into, but before we pivot to that, can you just tell us a little bit more about you? I'd love to learn about you more.
Sure. Thank you. So I'm a Chicago native. I've been here 20 some odd years. I was born here, moved to Arkansas, was raised in Arkansas, came back to go to school. And I had a long journey. I was married at a very young age, got divorced, and I never thought that I wanted to have kids in my 20s or even 30s. I was more focused on my career until I met the man of my dreams. He would love this one, of my dreams, who I am married to now. And when I met him, I was in my 30s and I wasn't even thinking about kids then either. I was just focused on my career. I wanted my career to take off and I wanted to go into media and just share stories because I've always had a fascination with talking to people and learning about people and wanting to know their stories and their journeys and where did they come from and how did they grow up and why are they doing what they did and what did they eat for breakfast and so on and so forth. And my background was real estate, so I always loved helping people, but throughout that process, I enjoyed meeting the people that I got to work with. And so after going through my divorce, I jumped into media, met my husband now, didn't want to have kids until later on. And I was in my mid 30s when I decided that Amir, my husband, we're like, you know what? We're together. We've been through it all. We're both, respectfully in our careers. We don't have to be married to start having kids. And that's where our journey started. And boy, did I get a rude awakening. I didn't realize that it would be so difficult because I never really was educated on IVF and what that meant and women over 35, being having trouble conceiving. My problem was I could get pregnant, I just couldn't stay pregnant. So I always thought, you know what, it's just the timing's not right. Maybe this isn't
Mhm.
supposed to
Mhm.
happen, or maybe it happened for a reason. I don't know. I gave myself all these excuses before I actually went to before I went to go see an IVF doctor, because that's when my husband and I really started getting serious about, starting a family. And when I went into my first visit with my IVF doctor and my OBGYN actually recommended that I go to the IVF doctor. She's like, you know what, Arsiak, you are, 36 years old. You've had multiple miscarriages. You need assistance. And she started to talk to me about IVF. And then I went and met with my IVF doctor, and that's where I started to get educated on and started going through that process, not understanding what it all meant. I thought like, "Oh, great. I'm with my doctor, my IVF doctor. I'm gonna do all these shots. I'm gonna get good embryos, and then we'll get pregnant." Well, that's not the case. That wasn't the case for me. And my journey was 5 rounds of IVF, finally, for, healthy embryos, which, women out there that are, that have gone through IVF, they know how important that, or how vital that embryo is,
Mhm.
because that's what's going to hopefully create that pregnancy and transform into the pregnancy that you want. For me, it didn't happen that way. My journey didn't look like that. I couldn't carry. So that's when we started talking about surrogacy. And don't get me wrong, when all along, as a woman that wants children and to start a family, we grow up thinking that, oh, we just, that's a woman carries the baby and I'll always have my own baby, not thinking another woman could actually help you with that process. And I started hearing about surrogacy through celebrities, obviously. And then I started hearing about it slowly through my group of friends. And there was this one particular friend of mine that she's a little bit older than me that actually did that. And she was the first one to go through it. And she was the one that I went to and talked to her about it. And when I spoke to her about surrogacy and started understanding it and saw her beautiful daughter, that's when I was like, okay, this is what my journey is going to look like.
Mhm. Just listening to you speak, right? There's so much power in your voice, and it's clear that your journey has been about empowerment, right? And
Yeah.
but no doubt I can imagine that it didn't always feel that way. I can only, imagine the setbacks, the disappointments, the trials, the tribulations before you and your husband finally landed on surrogacy is a really important option.
Yeah.
It's a successful option for us. Let's go for it. So tell us about that moment where you and your husband finally decided this is our pathway. This is where we're going to go next.
Yeah. Before I get into that real quick, my background, I started an online platform talk show called Smart as the New Sexy. And my thing was my whole journey has been empowering and inspiring and educating women. And for a period of time while I was doing this whole thing with IVF and surrogacy, I was afraid to share that. I started sharing a little bit because I felt like a failure, like
Mm,
I couldn't achieve
sure.
that one thing. But then I'm out here, wanting to empower women, but I didn't know how to talk about it, right? I didn't know how to speak about it because I felt powerless. I felt like this is not working for me. How am I going to talk to other women about something that's not working for me? I'm talking to other women that are things that are working for me. And it was really hard for me to get to that decision after talking to my friend and talking to my husband that was so supportive through this whole entire journey. And then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm Middle Eastern." Like nobody had put, and now let's throw in the cultural thing too, on top of the society thing, the
Right,
cultural thing,
right.
right?
Yes.
Because our culture, I mean, nobody in my family had problems having babies and reproduction, if that's the right word to say. But it was a lot of things that was going through my mind, and I started to beat myself up until I
So
started.
kind of all the old common themes, right? The
Yes.
shame, the guilt, the
Yep.
secrecy, right? Am I right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And all these things that we go through as women, because now we feel like failures. First of all, IVF, right? You feel like a failure because you think it's all you, but we have to back up. It takes two to make a baby.
Mhm.
It doesn't
That's
happen.
right. Right.
It's not just one person. The woman, the human body of a woman, what we could do is so amazing. It's mind blowing how we could just give birth to another human being. And I started to, those were all the feelings. I'm like, I'm a woman. I'm supposed to give birth to another human being. I'm supposed to be that woman. And finally, when my husband and we sat down, we talked to our doctor. I talked to my OBGYN. I talked to a friend of mine that went through this. And I said, look, if we want, my husband and if we want to give this all that we have and to be able to have a child that's our own without, any help, but having, that surrogate carry our own DNA in our embryo to actually see that. And, this is our option. And he's like, let's go for it. Whatever it is that you decide, let's go for it.
So how did you feel after you both finally made that decision? You made the resolution. This was what you were going to do. How did that feel for the two of you?
Empowered
Ah, yeah.
because it's just such a beautiful thing when you start to educate yourself about it. Like I did, I felt empowered. I was like, oh my gosh, this is finally going to happen for us. We are finally going to be able to start a family. So we went through this first agency that we started with. We didn't start with ConceiveAbilities, even though I had spoken to them, and I had to stop beating myself up that I didn't go with them in the first place. That's like for another day. But I will say this, it's so important, the agency that you use. Do your research. But this agency, the first agency that we used was in the top 5 list of recommendations from our doctor. So after doing all our research, talking to them, we started with the last agency. And after like 7 months, they matched us with our surrogate, the one that we started with the first time. And I didn't know. I was just excited. I met her. She seemed very nice. Her husband seemed very nice. We went through the whole process, and I was just excited because all I wanted was just for us to be
Well,
pregnant.
sure. You finally made the decision, right? You were on a
Yeah.
mission. This was
And
your track.
it was like a year, and this takes time. It definitely takes a lot of time. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not like you could go to Target and pick up paper towels and come home and,
Right.
it's
Of
done.
course.
It's not like that. This is a long process that takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of research. You have to educate yourself, ask questions, make sure you surround yourself with the right people, the right counsel. So once we got to that decision, our surrogates, we decided, we went through the process, the whole contract, all of that. And then she started her meds. First time she transfers, she's pregnant. And we were like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening. So we shared the news, I remember, with our entire family on Christmas Eve. And we were just so excited. We were like 8 weeks pregnant, but we were just so excited. We just wanted to share it with our family and we couldn't wait. And all along, everything was going great. And then COVID hits. We are
And how far along is your surrogate at this point when COVID hits?
when COVID hits, so let's say January 2020, we started hearing this. She was, I want to say, like 3 months, about 3
Okay.
months.
Yeah.
So we were just like, yeah, she was like 12 weeks at this point. So we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll just have to do FaceTime, so on and so forth. So our surrogate was supposed to have her 20-week early on in March. So maybe I'm off on some dates, but I remember March, end of March, like first week of Yeah, end of March, she was supposed to have her 20 weeks. She got really sick.
So right in the thick of things shutting down and the pandemonium and nobody knows what to think about the world, right? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
nightmare,
Right.
like nightmare.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh my god, how am I gonna bring a child into this? How are we gonna do this? How is this gonna
Right.
work?"
Right.
They're scaring us. We can't go here. We can't do this. We can't be in delivery rooms. We don't know how long this is gonna last. So I just start ordering things because I'm like, I'm scared. I'm not having a shower, obviously, because we can't even see our family, much less get together for a baby shower. This is at the beginning of things. And I'm like, she's like 20 some odd weeks. So we go to have our first ultrasound in April, finally, the 20 week. It was like 23 days. It was 23 weeks and like 4 days. So it was just shy of like 24 weeks. And I'm like, okay, I'm all excited. My husband and I are excited. We're going to do FaceTime.
And during this period of time, Arsiak, you've been in contact regularly with your surrogate, right? Doing
Yeah.
FaceTime, checking. Everything seems to be going
Yeah.
well.
Baby's moving to her. According to her, baby's moving, everything is happening. So I had to trust her, right? I can't like physically go there. I can't see what she's doing. She's just sick. And they tested her for COVID. She didn't have it, but she was sick for a couple of weeks. So, long story short, we go in, and now this is April 17th of 2020. I'll never forget that day. And we're sitting there. It's like 11:30 in the afternoon, in the morning, early morning. My husband and I are sitting on the couch and we're waiting, and I get a FaceTime call from my surrogate, and the look on her face was like not normal. And I was like, what the hell is going
Mhm.
on? I didn't understand what was going on. Her doctor was standing right next to her. By the way, her doctor did not have good bedside manners. They were just awful. She tells me that there's no heartbeat. I'm like, I mean, and that's all I
Oh,
heard. That's all I heard. I'm
right.
like,
And then
wait a
the
minute.
world goes black, right?
Yeah.
The
I'm like,
shutters
wait a
come
minute.
down.
It's 6 months. We're 6 months into this, like almost. Like, what do you mean there's no heartbeat? Surrogate's crying. I start crying. I remember I had on my clothes. I had to take my clothes off because I felt like I was being suffocated. Like I could
Oh,
not. And my husband's like trying to calm me. He's crying. We're crying. We're like, what are you talking about? This is impossible, you know? And
and
then
what's the explanation?
they couldn't explain it at the time until she delivered. And then we had the autopsy and it was an umbilical cord.
Mm.
So that
So bringing it
fast.
full circle, no wonder this is
Yeah.
such an important and sensitive topic today, this morning,
Yeah.
right? Like this,
Yeah.
this is not going to go away until you're holding that baby.
Yep.
Oh,
Exactly.
oh.
And
So
it
how
was
is this journey different now? I mean, now you're almost there. You can see the finish line. You're about to just leap across it. What makes this aside from the fact that, any moment you're going to hold your child, but what are the differences?
Oh, wow. I mean, where do I begin? ConceiveAbilities. I mean, that's the first difference. They have been amazing since day one. It was just, I'm really big on energy. I'm really big on
Mhm.
just feelings. And this feeling was way different. Even the first time that I spoke to ConceiveAbilities, it was just completely different. From that, it just started to put my mind at ease. And then just the whole process. And then our surrogate now, she's amazing. Like she has been so
Yeah, tell
communicative.
tell our audience about her. I know that they're
She
just dying
is
to know how
like,
great she is.
she is, I was just on the phone with her and I was like, when we go through this again, God willing, I'm just going to tell them to clone you and to give me that because I know you're not doing this again. I just want to clone you. I don't want to go through the process again of asking questions and all that. Just give me your clone and whoever that is. And she's like, stop it. I'm like, no, and I'm not like, our last surrogate, she was a wonderful human being. She was. Anyone that does this is just, they're really good people. I'm not saying that she wasn't, right? But it was just, this one is just organized. She's on top of it. She's like constantly, especially through all of this whole process, she's she's like, I'm feeling like I have to feel her. If she's not moving every hour, like I'm like freaking out. But thank God this baby's very active, and she's just made me feel so comfortable. She is
Can you give us some details about what really makes this partnership with her work so well? Like when you say she's detailed, like what is it about her that just puts your mind at ease?
doctor's appointments. She's on top of it. She'll text me random foods that she's eating. Like the baby's craving this today, and I'm like, oh, avocado toast. Okay, we know she's a healthy little one. Or, she'll say, she'll text me a video of her moving. And it's just, or we need this, Arsiak. I'm not feeling good today. Or at the beginning of the pregnancy, she wasn't feeling good. She didn't have a good start to her pregnancy. She was very sick. And she would say, hey, do you mind if I take this? I'm like, nope, as long as the doctor okays it, I'm fine with that. So she always asked me before she did things, especially with the vaccines now, like with COVID and all of that. She would ask, hey, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? It's up to you. It's your baby. Yes, it's my body, but it's your baby. So she has just been amazing. And my thing is, when you're going through surrogacy, you have to communicate. And the number one priority, yes, the baby, of course, but also the surrogate mother. You have to make sure the surrogate mother's healthy, she's happy, she's eating good, she's, doing her thing, whatever it might be, because she's the one that's feeding your baby. So my thing is always when I talk to the doctors, I'm like, is Amanda healthy? Yes, she is. Is the baby healthy? Yes, she is. And that's like the top priority, Amanda
Yeah,
and the
they go
baby.
hand in hand, hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I think too, when working, speaking from the agency perspective, working on a match and knowing, look, this is a client who has had this experience. This is what they bring to bear in the moment. And so matching them with a surrogate who has this awareness, who will be able to be empathetic to the journey that preceded them so
Yeah.
they could work to quell any anxieties, concerns, and be a better partner to you in
Yes.
the moment. It's not, you bring to this an awareness that a first time intended parent wouldn't have, right? So
Yeah.
we do need to think about those factors in creating these matches, these partnerships that will
Yes.
go the distance. So communicate. We can talk about communication, but it's a lot harder to define what it is that we need with good communication and then see it in action and know that we have it.
Yes. And the thing is, I would say the first time intended parents is don't be afraid to ask. Like if you want more ultrasounds, you tell them from the beginning. If you want your surrogate to eat certain types of foods, you have that conversation with them beforehand. Make sure when you're interviewing that surrogate that the same thing you would do if you were carrying that child, what would you do? Make sure that that person, the surrogate, that you choose to work with and she chooses to work with you because it is a partnership, like you said. It's a two-way street. Make sure that that person understands your needs and wants as well as you understand her needs and wants. And that's the most important thing. The thing is to be able to say, what also ask them, what's your lifestyle like? Because that's going to be important. If they have because surrogates they're an array of people. They're all over. They're educated. They're working.
Yes,
A lot of them are
that's right.
working
That's
moms.
right.
A lot of them are, taking care of their kids. So you have to understand, are they stressed out? Do they have a lot on their plate? Why are they doing this? Why are they being a surrogate outside of, they just want to help somebody else? Is it because that they need, a little bit more financial support? There's an array of decisions to be made, and don't be afraid to ask those hard questions when you are, interviewing with a surrogate, because this person is going to be the person that is either in your life for the next year and a half until you get to that point, that finish line, or forever. And for me, I see my surrogate being in my life forever.
So when
especially
we
this
think
one.
about, choosing a surrogate, right? And all the factors that you just laid out for our listeners, which are terrific, but the first hurdle is connecting and getting assimilated with an agency where they just resonate with you. There's this
Yes.
trustworthiness, there's an authenticity, there's a history and a positive track record. So tell us, for those who might be listening to this and are really at the crossroads of making that final leap into surrogacy and looking to choose an agency, or perhaps they've chosen an agency and they haven't yet chosen their surrogate. But what would your advice to them be, and how important it is to choose that agency? What are the factors that you consider the most important ones in that choice?
I could compare because I've had one agency that I would not recommend to anyone and one agency that I would recommend to everyone. This agency, ConceiveAbilities, one of the things, the most important amongst so many, and I've talked to a lot of different agencies before I made, this decision at the beginning before I started my surrogacy, is communication. How is their process? Process is so important. You don't understand when you're going through this, especially for a first time intended parent, how much paperwork you need. Who's going to keep up with doctor's appointments? How are you going to know, what you have to do next? You don't know all of this. With ConceiveAbilities, they literally lay out everything for you and have someone that is working with you solely and reminding you, hey, don't forget Amanda has an upcoming doctor's appointment today. Good luck with everything today. Please keep us posted on what's happening. That's important, because sometimes we forget, even though you're communicating with the surrogate, you have the agency also doing that. When it comes to attorneys, you don't have to think about that. They have in-house attorney. And then when you have let's say your surrogate's out of state, depending on what state that your surrogate's in, they have attorney and referral partners out there that'll help you, that'll help you get that paperwork. They are on top of it. So make sure the process, how is their process? There are about 15 different steps that you're going to have to take before this child is in your arms. Make sure that you choose an agency that is going to make sure that process is going to be seamless for you. And number 2, I will say this: don't go with the cheapest agency. You will get what you pay for. I hate to say that, but you will get what you pay for. There are some agencies that are a little bit more, but at the end of the day, it's the process, and you can't put a dollar amount on the baby that you're bringing into this world. You want to make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And
True.
one thing with this agency, I have not had to think about anything. Like if I forgot to follow up with my attorney, they're following up with my attorney for me and making sure that paperwork's done. Hey, what happened to this paperwork? We need to make sure this is done before, the birth order. We need to make sure this is done. It just takes so much pressure off of you.
What's so interesting, I always find it fascinating that, obviously I'm in the inside. I understand the heavy lift and the enormity of the work involved in a successful surrogacy and recruiting these incredible women.
Yeah.
It's easy to recruit the not so great women, but that's not what we do. And that's not what our clients want from us. They want the best. They want security. They want safety. They want as much assurance as possible, knowing nothing is guaranteed in this world. But when we're talking about the long journey that the vast majority of clients have already been through, right? The disappointment, the heartache, the setbacks, you would think that people would want that assurance that they are getting what they pay for, that they are really trying to leverage their success and not cut corners with the health of their baby, right? What they worked
Yeah.
so long and so hard for.
Yeah.
It's amazing that people really are willing to cut some corners out there, but this is not, I think, where you want to cut some corners.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to cut corners, not when it comes to this process. It is a process that is very time consuming. You have to have patience and you have to have the right people around you, because at a time sometimes when you don't have sense for yourself, at least you have the people around you that'll have sense for you because there's just so much going on. The surrogacy process, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's so beautiful. Like for another woman to be able to give another woman or family that gift that keeps on giving, which is it's something that is so indescribable. I can't even think of the right words to show my gratitude and appreciation for our surrogate. You just have to make sure that you have the right people around you. And with ConceiveAbilities, I had the right people around me. They made this process. I was just telling my husband this morning, and it's funny because I was telling Amanda this too. They
And
literally
Amanda's
have,
your surrogate.
yeah,
Just
sorry.
so our listeners
Yeah,
know.
yeah, my surrogate. She's just been amazing. She is so amazing. And I told him, I was like, oh my gosh, this went by so fast. And even with ConceiveAbilities, like they hit timelines. If they tell you you're going to be matched between 8 to 12 weeks, you're going to be matched between 8 to 12 weeks. There are agencies out there that'll give you a timeline and it's it's false, and then when you go back to them and they're like, "Oh, well, we haven't found anyone for you." It's like, "Wait a minute. You mean to tell me?" And it's not like I'm asking for someone to fly to the moon, it's somebody. I had simple requests. They literally, I mean, their timelines are unbelievable. I just, and if we do this, like I said, if we do this process again, God willing, we would be, using them again. And I've referred people to them, and I tell them, and I'm like, look, do your research, talk to people. I'm not just, but this is where my experience was because I had an experience with this and I've talked to other people and it's nothing like this. Their process is amazing.
So now, that you've had this terrific experience. You've had a great partnership with Amanda. You've said things on this podcast about just how much she means to you and how important she is, and how, you feel that importance will transcend the rest of your lives, right?
Yeah.
She will be a part of your life for a long time, if not forever.
Yes.
But how, this partnership, when you think about the beauty of it and the intimacy, I mean, it's so unique. Most people will never have a partnership like this in their life.
Mm-mm.
How has this partnership changed your life?
I was having this conversation the other couple week last week with one of my childhood friends. She's a photographer, and I was doing just a photo shoot. And she said to me, she's like, "This is your maternity shoot." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, this is your maternity shoot. Just because you are not actually carrying does not make you no less of a mother, and that should not take away from you." And at that moment, it really clicked where it was like so empowering to me. This partnership has changed me to the point where when I go back out there and I continue doing the work that I've been doing before, my messaging will be that as women, we know we've had this movement, right? If this woman could come to me and help me, give me something that I could not do for myself, there's no reason why other women out there, we can't do more for each other. And I do a lot. I do. But there's so much more that I want to do for other women out there. I don't know what exactly or how that's going to look like, but it's just empowered me so much to speak about my journey, not to be ashamed of anything anymore, because there's some things that are out of our control and we can't help. And that it has just been such an amazing experience. I cannot put it into words, but I know in my future I will put it into action. And especially now that we're having a little girl, I want to be the best role model that I could possibly be to my daughter. And I want to show my daughter that no matter what in life, that we could push through anything. And there are some amazing, amazing people out there, and that you were brought into this world by a really amazing human being.
Right, because our paths, they're very circuitous in life, right? They're
Yeah.
they're windy. Our paths don't take a very linear, an A to B line, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Life's pathways are very circular and winding, and it's really about eventually getting to the destination. I know that's not quite the cliche words out there. People
Yeah.
talk about the journey, and the journey is important, but the journey can be different for everyone. But as long as we achieve the objective, and I am big on objectives, I do
Yeah.
believe destinations are important. I think that it's even more important when we're talking about surrogacy and bringing home that child that you have fought so hard and the family that you fought so hard to have. I think it's super important to think about that destination, and no matter how you get it, I think just being persevering, and I love that term failing forward, right? Just
Yeah.
getting up and trying again. And so when
Yeah.
you think about the messaging that you're going to take out into the world after this is done. What about the women who are thinking about being surrogates, right? Because gosh, there's simply not enough great surrogates out there. I wish there were more women who answered the calling. What might you say to those women who are considering becoming a surrogate about the gift that they could bestow to other women like you?
If you're thinking about it, just do it. Like the journey that you will have and the women that you will meet or the families, because there are families out there that are wanting to start families, whatever your family looks like, just do it because the reward is so much bigger than anything that could ever be achieved in one's life. And it's you're bringing another human being into this world. Like I don't know how to even describe that. You're giving life and it's the gift that keeps on giving. I don't know, I could only speak upon my experience as being an intended parent, an intended first-time parent. It is such a beautiful journey. And I will say this, my surrogate has made me feel like I'm going through this with her. It's just been, I don't know, it's just an indescribable energy that both of us have. We do have a special connection, my surrogate and I do. We have this special connection. We've said this time and time, we've laughed about it together. And if you could do that, women that are out there that are thinking about being surrogates, just do it. I promise you, it's one of the best things you will do. You will not be disappointed. If you enjoy being pregnant and you have had healthy pregnancies in the past and pregnancy hasn't been hard on you, you should definitely consider being a surrogate.
How about any misconceptions that you or Amanda might have come across in your journey together? And how might you, dispel some of those myths or misconceptions that might be out there?
Oh, what did I hear? Somebody said, "Oh, what if she takes the baby and runs with it?" I was like, are you crazy? Are you crazy?"
I know that is the number one myth, right? And it
That
couldn't
is
be
like the
further from the
number one.
truth. We've never seen it, ever,
I've
ever.
never seen it. I'm
These
like,
are
what are
women
we?
have
Like
small
in a
children
third
at
world
home.
country? Like you just literally shipped your embryo to some woman you've never met, it's crazy. Or what if you don't know, what? No, you do. That is why, again, I mean, I don't have any with Amanda, like I said, the misconception with her, I didn't have any because the agency made things so clear. The agency late before anything had happened, the agency made everything so clear before we even had the first initial phone call with Amanda. And when we got on that phone, all of our questions were answered. My husband and I got off because we were on FaceTime actually, because we were still in COVID. So it wasn't like the meet and greet like you would normally have. But thank God for technology. We both looked at each other and were like, she's the one.
Oh, that's so great. And I mean, given our success rate, right?
Yeah.
97% of intended parents say yes after that first meeting. There's the
Yes.
energy and the discipline and the diligence that gets put into matchmaking.
Yeah.
It goes the distance. The statistics speak for themselves, and you are a shining example of that. And it's such a wonderful story to showcase for our listeners.
Thank
Why do you
you.
think it's so important though to get this message out and to help women who may want to become a surrogate understand the process? Like, is there anything that you could point to, just taking it from your own personal vantage point of working with Amanda, where Amanda could have maybe has said to you, they could have done a little bit of a better job of preparing me for A, B, or C. Did you experience any of that with Amanda where she
No,
wasn't prepared?
no, because this is her second go around with ConceiveAbilities. So she's been a surrogate before. And even on the first surrogacy journey, from what I understood with her, she was with the same people for 3 years, I think. It was something long like that, that
Hmm.
she was with
Hmm.
them for a while because, they had like failed attempts and they were, you know, she was going through IVF and trying to do all of that. I don't know the exact like nitty gritty details of what happened, but she had been with them for 3 years. So she had learned along the way too. But with ConceiveAbilities, she said that they laid everything out. They made it very clear, of how to become a surrogate, what she needed to know. And not only that, it makes it easier when you're a parent yourself, right? It makes it much easier. And most of the surrogates, from my understanding, I know they're parents already. They have kids, at least one
Hmm.
child, if
Hmm.
anything. So that's, I think, and I'm not sure, and I'm maybe speaking and I'm wrong, and please correct me if I am. I think with ConceiveAbilities, you have to be a parent. Like you have to
You
at
do.
least have
You have
one of
to
your
be
own.
rearing a child at home.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
So that makes a huge difference.
It does. And I think too, it helps to further dispel the myth that, surrogates want to run off with this baby. Like when you already have young children at home that you're rearing, right? The the
You're like,
enormity of
you know what?
that.
The eviction is 9 months. Okay. I
Yeah,
signed a lease, and 9 months later, this
you're
baby
like,
is getting evicted
no, I don't want
and she needs a home to go to.
right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you have such an amazing story, right? You have gone through the depths, not only with your own fertility struggles, right? But also with surrogacy and that first journey elsewhere that just ended in sadness. And it was a very dark moment in your journey. And then to have this you know, fantastic partnership with Amanda, and you're almost right at the finish line. What are some of the things that you really wish you had known that have turned out to be your biggest challenges or triumphs that you'd like to help others understand so they don't perhaps either make the same mistakes or that they're well prepared for the obstacles?
Make sure you set your expectations and be realistic. Just know that maybe that if you go through this journey with a surrogate and your first transfer might not work. And maybe your second transfer might not work. You never know.
Hmm.
I've heard all sorts of stories. But don't give up hope. That's the one thing that kept me going was hope. And that's one of the most important things is you just have to keep putting your best foot forward and knowing you're doing everything that you possibly can do. And at the end of the day, the results are out of your control. There's nothing we can control
Right.
beyond that.
But laying the groundwork, right? Doing the
Yeah.
good work and then letting science do the rest, letting good
Yes.
relationships do the rest, having a good partner, whether it's with your surrogate or the agency, help to facilitate.
Yep.
But a lot of it is up to the cosmos, isn't it? Isn't
Yeah,
that
it
something?
really is. It really is. And know that there are other options. There are a lot of other options when you're working with surrogacy and how you're going to achieve that. Whether it's through your own DNA, whether it's donor, there's so many different options out there. And don't let if you're stuck on one thing and it doesn't work out, just know that there are other possibilities. And that's what I had to keep telling myself, that no matter what, I'm going to be a mom and we're going to figure it out and we're going to make it happen.
You've got to make it happen. Arsiak, you said something early in our talk today where, you building a platform and running a company and a business that really helps empower women. If we can have other women help women to grow and thrive in a business setting, right? Through networking
Mhm.
and connections and support and B2B contacts and all the good work that women bring to the table with each other. Why can't we have women help other women build families? It just seems like such a natural part of it all, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think that that's so important. And for me, just being in the business world and then starting, with my own family, I said to myself, if a woman could help another woman start a family, why can't another woman help another woman climb up that ladder? I'm like, we should be
Indeed.
able to help each other all the way around. And there shouldn't be any of that cattiness or that, oh, that's supposed to be mine or that's supposed to be mine. Or if another woman got pregnant and it's a friend of yours and you didn't, be happy for her because energy is so important. If you're not happy for one, what does that say about you? And how's that going to come back to you? Just know our journeys all look different. They all look different. We're not all, at the end of the day, yes, we're trying to achieve, in this situation, a family. We're trying to start a family, but all of that looks different for all of us. And we're here
It
to support
sure
each
does.
other and not judge and tear each other down. Um,
Absolutely. Well, I think I have such a great perspective, and it's just been an honor to work in this field because I do see, fortunately, the very best of women helping each other. That
yes.
has been just such a privilege in my own career and my own life. And I'm quite fortunate because I do know it's not like that everywhere. In fact, it could be far from it. But at least when it
Yeah.
comes to family building and the world of surrogacy, this is the epicenter and the true meaning of women helping women, without a doubt.
Yes. And I will say one thing, one more thing. This whole team, I haven't met the entire team, but everyone that I've met through this agency, they're all women. And that has been so empowering and inspiring from the attorneys to the coordinators, to the hospital coordinators. It's just been from point A to from A to Z, and I know we're getting to Z, they're all women. Even even Amanda's doctors, she's got 2, they're women. It's just been such an amazing journey, and this, like I said, it's just been so inspiring and empowering to see this whole thing. It's almost like a different world, right?
Sure,
Like, you're
it
almost
is.
like
It
in
is.
a avatar world that seems like it doesn't exist, but it really does. It really
It
does
does.
exist.
It
And
does.
I'm walking proof of how I'm bringing a child into this world. And there's so many other women like this. I know there's so many other women like this. Now we're hearing it more and more, through celebrities and hopefully through everyday women. We're going to hear more and more of these stories.
Well, I think you are on point to take this very powerful message that resonates personally, and you're armed and ready to take it out into the world, and I'm so excited to hear it. If you had to think back on, your experience, and in particular, maybe our time today together, what is your biggest takeaway? What's the aha moment, as I like to call it?
The aha moment. It's just being on this podcast has been for me such a just an aha moment because of the fact of what you're doing, the work that you're doing, the message that you're putting out into this world about how all, other women are helping other women start families. And it's just been such an honor to even be able to tell my story and to give me that platform because as I said earlier, I felt ashamed, but there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's, our the best way to get to know someone is through their vulnerability. And when you're vulnerable does not mean you're weak. You're at your strongest point. Right now, I feel like I'm at my strongest point. Over the last 2 weeks, and when this whole thing started, it made me feel so empowered and strong. And I know that that's been my aha moment. I'm going to be a mom. And this is amazing. And being able to tell this story to other women that might be struggling through this or thinking about it, it's just like, wow, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe what this little girl that's coming into this world has created for me.
So beautiful. Arsiak, I can't thank you enough for just the vulnerability, the candor, the power that you exude. I have no doubt that this is going to be one of our most popular podcasts because everything that you've touched upon resonates deeply with not only with intended parents, but with surrogates too. So thank you for joining me today. And I really look forward to the news that you have welcomed your baby girl and you have her in your arms.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be here today. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Wow. How cool, incredible, amazing was that? What a lady. She is really a demonstration of what it's like to persevere and to just get back in the saddle when you get tossed off that horse. I think when I think about many of the aha moments that I've had an opportunity to share during this show, I think this episode in my conversation with Arsiak in particular is one that really demonstrates the power of perseverance. And when I mentioned that, there's some real wisdom in failing forward, she demonstrates the virtue of what it's like to continue to find your own way in the world, to find a journey towards that destination, to fail forward, and to ultimately succeed. So listeners, I hope you look back on 2021 as a year of gifts and opportunities in spite of our collective challenges, and look to 2022 ahead as a year to realize further gifts and to make your dreams a reality. Happy New Year, everybody. And until next time, take care.
At ConceiveAbilities, we believe that everyone who wants to become a parent can. Our agency has helped build thousands of families for nearly 25 years. Whether you are an intended parent ready to fulfill your family destiny, a surrogate answering your calling, or an egg donor wanting to expand what's possible in your life, we are your people. See how matching matters. Learn more by joining our Surrogacy Learning Center community at surrogacylearningcenter.conceivabilities.com.